If you're watching this now, then it means that you know that you need to be more consistent in your life. And we're going to talk about the why and the how of being more consistent because it's going to be hard, whether it's me or you, to make progress in our lives if we cannot maintain any consistency when we're working towards our objectives. Whatever those objectives may be, we have to have some consistency. I'm going to offer you two whys and two hows. It's important first to understand the whys because if you understand clearly why it's important to be consistent, then it's going to give you that extra motivation and that extra drive to actually put your mind to it. Okay. And then obviously, you need to know a couple of hows just to help you get started and actually implement what you're trying to do here. So, let me just introduce myself. I am Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Pep, bringing you a fit and flourishing future. I am also the youngest son of Bill Johnson. I absolutely do want you to subscribe because I'm not here to waste your time. So go ahead and subscribe. You'll get notified. And if you don't want to watch, that's fine. But if you subscribe, then you'll be notified and you can keep yourself in the loop. The other way to stay in the loop, go to www.bouncepep.com, scroll down to the bottom of the homepage, and just subscribe to our email list. We don't like spam you and send you a bunch of junk mail every day. That's just not how we operate, okay? We're just going to try to help you level up your life. So with all of that said, let's stop wasting time and let's just get right into this. So look, consistency is so important when you want to accomplish something in your life because, without it, you find yourself stopping and starting and not really getting anywhere. And so what we want to talk about, first of all, is why it's important. I'm going to give you two reasons why it's so important for you to be more consistent. And you may already know this, and that's fine. And just consider it a reminder if so. If this is the first time hearing it, then that's great. It means you're going to be learning something new. The first reason is this. You need consistency in order to build momentum. Okay. Understand that anytime that you're working towards especially like a long-term goal and something that's going to take effort sustained over time, then the only way that you can really get there is to build momentum. Okay. And momentum it's interesting because in the beginning, it feels really hard to build momentum. You'll be working at it and working at it and working at it. And it can feel like nothing is happening and you're not going anywhere. That's not really true. It's just that you're in that stage of building momentum. And that's what building momentum feels like, right? It's like, like if you think about an automobile, an automobile is going to use up the most gas when it's accelerating from a standstill, right? If you're stopped at a traffic light and then the light turns green and you hit the accelerator, well, that's the point at which you're building momentum and using up the most gas. The car's, putting in the most effort to get going, basically. But if you jump on a highway and you get your speed up to, 70, 80 miles an hour or whatever, and you're more or less just cruising, it doesn't take the car that much more energy to just maintain that speed, actually. Okay. It's the momentum building phase that requires so much energy. And your life works the same way. I love to use these examples from the gym as well because they're also instructive. It's like if you have ever started like a training regimen, then in the beginning you start training and it can feel like nothing is really, really happening for a couple months, 2, 3, 4 months, right? And especially you look in a mirror and, you'll be thinking to yourself, like, I don't see anything changing. Even though I'm putting in all this work and everything, I just don't see it. But it's not true that nothing's changing. Things are happening inside of your body. Believe me, things are changing. You're just in the momentum building phase, right? And you've got to keep building momentum, right? You got to keep going and keep building that momentum. And then after a while, what'll happen is the momentum will kind of feed on itself, and it will become easier over time to do what you're doing. So whatever you are working on in your life, just understand that you have to be consistent in order to build momentum. And if you don't build momentum, you're never really going to get far. Okay. Stopping and starting will always shortcut your aspirations and your dreams, because you just, as soon as you get going just a little bit, you just lose all your momentum because you stop. Okay. So, what is the number two why? Okay. The number two why. Why do you need to be more consistent? Okay. Number two is just your own self regard. Look, I don't know about you, but for me, I don't feel good about myself if I'm not consistent. I don't, it doesn't do anything for my self-esteem at all. And I think you're probably very similar in the sense that when are, you know that you're supposed to be doing something and you're just failing to do it, and especially if you're repeatedly failing to do it like you should be doing it, and you just know that you're not being consistent, you don't feel good about yourself. And it may not be something that anybody else knows about, but you know about it. That's why I say self-regard. It's not about uh, anybody else watching you or anybody else's opinion of you. It's how you feel about yourself. And when you are consistent and you're really applying yourself and staying on top of what needs to be done, then you feel better about yourself. And it's good for you, it's healthy for your self-esteem, okay? Now, what about the hows? I promised you I would give you two hows of being more consistent. So two ways that you can be more consistent. Okay, the first one is this: frequency. This is obvious, but it just needs to be, even though it's obvious, it needs to be said, and you need to be reminded of how important it is. Consistency requires frequency. In other words, let's say for example, again, I'm trying to get in the best shape of my life. And I decide weirdly that in order to do this, I'm going to start going to the gym one time per week. Okay? So there are 7 days in a week, right? And I'm telling myself I'm going to get myself in the best shape of my life by going to the gym one day out of 7 per week. Now, obviously, this is absurd. If this is what I'm telling myself, this is absolutely ridiculous. So, of course, I can go one time per week for 52 weeks. In other words, for 1 year, one time per week consistently, and I can claim to be consistently doing it. But that's missing the point because I'm not doing it frequently enough to make a difference. So consistency requires a certain amount of frequency in order to be effective, right? So if we go back again to the example of trying to get into the best shape of my life, okay, well, that's probably going to mean I'm going to have to go probably at least 3 times a week, right? I'm going to have to go at least three out of 4 days per week to get in the best shape of my life. Now, of course, you can adjust, anywhere from 3 to 5 or 6 days. It depends on, how good you feel, and everybody's a little bit different. But you're going to have a certain amount of frequency, in order for consistency to even be effective in the first place. So that's the first how. Okay. The second how is this: you may not have the wherewithal to go all out every time. And I want to encourage you not to get yourself down about that part of it, because what consistency requires is effort and application on a regular basis and on a frequent basis. Okay, on a basis that's frequent enough to get the results that you're seeking. Okay, it doesn't mean that every single time you have to finish everything that you planned on doing, because there will be some days where you just don't have it, right? Look, I know I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Most people think I look significantly younger than I actually am. But let me just tell you, between you and me, I'm not a spring chicken anymore, right? So, I know at the age that I'm at now, there are some days where I have like the enthusiasm and the energy and that kind of get go to accomplish everything that I want to, on that day. And then other days, it's just not there. But that's okay because I'll do what I can do. It may just be a little, but because I'm trying to stay consistent, I'll just do a little. Okay. And that's fine. And then maybe the next time I'll go and do more. But that's what I want to encourage you to do is um, one of the hows of being consistent is just to do as much as you can, even if you can't do everything that you wanted to at one time. Do as much as you can just to maintain that consistency because there's nothing feels great about just like saying, okay, I'm just gonna drop it and just not do it. And then all of a sudden, remember, we just talked about momentum a few minutes ago. We just talked about that. And then all of a sudden, you've been building this momentum and you just stop, right? And all that momentum is just kind of lost. And that's what you don't want. So consistency, a lot of times, it's not so important for you to be going all out, you know, every time. If you can go all out, then go all out. But if you can't, that's okay. Do what you can do on that day. Okay. So those are my two whys and two hows of being more consistent. I want you to take this to heart. I want you to follow through on this, okay? Follow through. Nothing matters if you can't follow through, and that's going to actually be my next message. All right, so we're going to be talking about following through next. So I want to encourage you to be ready for that next video that is going to drop after this one. With all that said, I'm going to sign out. This is Mark Johnson, the founder of Bounce Prep. Okay, I want you to take this with you, and I'll talk to you next time.